What are the 5 elements of intimacy, and why should you even want them or use them? The 5 elements of intimacy are honor, allowance, trust, vulnerability, and gratitude. Please note, nowhere in those 5 elements do we hear the word love or sex. So the 5 elements of intimacy with you are really the 5 pillars that are required for anybody to actually have real intimacy with anybody else, including intimacy with self. Having these 5 elements of intimacy with self, number 1, first and foremost, completely transforms the way that you interact with the entire world and the way in which the entire world interacts with you. Do you honor you in your daily life? Do you honor you with the choices you're making? I don't mean, do you have the right boundaries? I don't mean, are you right? I mean, honoring. So honoring of self means that you actually treat yourself with regard and don't make choices that harm you. I know that sounds simple, but how many of you guys don't honor you and sometimes or often make choices that don't make your life greater? So when we honor ourselves, life gets a lot softer and a lot more yummy. Plus, when you honor you, you will naturally be inviting others who actually are capable of honoring you into your life. Allowance. Do you have allowance for you? Do you have allowance for others? What is allowance for self? Well, it's the absence of judgment, essentially. What allowance can you gift you that will basically set you free to be you in a much more gentle way? Trust. Trust is not blind faith. Trust is not just trusting that something will happen. Trusting is knowing and not projecting and expecting it to be different. It's the willingness to let things be as they are and to trust yourself to know who you are and to be an allowance of who you are rather than in judgment and force against your basic nature. Do you trust you or do you doubt you? Does that lack of trust for you impact the relationships you have in life? So honor, allowance, trust, vulnerability. Ooh, this is the barriers down. This is the intense willingness to not protect yourself and to trust that you can handle life, that you have your own back, not in a defensing way, but in a vulnerable way. It's like, is vulnerability of value or is vulnerability seen as a weakness? What if I told you that vulnerability was actually one of your greatest strengths? When you add allowance, trust, and honor to vulnerability, you get so much more of you and you let in so much more of the gift that life can be. And last but not least, gratitude. There is so much scientific study and literature on the power of gratitude these days, none of which I can actually refer to directly. I just know that it exists. And the attitude of gratitude is a very generative, on a literal cellular level. When you have gratitude for you, OMG, does life become a totally different space and place. And in order to have intimacy with you and have intimacy with anybody, if that's what you desire, there has to be gratitude. Gratitude cannot exist with judgment, so you can either have gratitude or judgment. Which brings you closer to you? Which brings you closer to the people that you desire to be closer to? Gratitude or judgment? Gratitude is, frankly, greatly missing from so many of our lives. And what would the world be like if people actually had honor for themselves? allowance of themselves, trusted in themselves, were vulnerable with themselves, and had gratitude. Would you like to be the first to have that much fun in life? Join me for the 5 Elements of Intimacy Clearing Night. It's going to be an 1.5 to 2-hour session, and we are going to use the tools of Access Consciousness and get into the superpower of intimacy. See you there.